international community watch. Tawish, we have lamented and lamented on this panel. We have created Pan-African Forum. Today, the Security Council wakes up and says, I think they're right. Do we deserve a honor in Africa?
Sure, Dr. Absolutely. Thank you once more, Dr. Masanga and Rosa Gishure. I think I want to begin from here. The genocide that is happening in Cameroon, more so in Amazonia, is despicable. It is something that we should not have allowed to happen in the first place. It's something that we should have stopped. We have the ability, we have the capacity to do it, especially with the organs we have in the African continent. But it looks like we have chosen just to leave Ambazonians or Cameroon with their own problems. People are not actually coming up with any interventions to see into it, how we can stop the genocide that has now claimed the lives of people, innocent civilians for that matter. Some of them, some of those who are lucky to survive up to this minute have been displaced. They're not living in their places, in their homes as we speak now. Young children are actually trying to just look for scamper for their safety. The mothers, you are seeing what is actually happening. You see the videos, you see the clips that are coming from southern Cameroon. It's actually despicable. It's something that you can't quite fathom that it can happen at this time and age when the African continent is sitting pretty and watching President Paul Biya's army actually carry on with this genocide against the civilians, the ordinary and armed civilians of southern Cameroon, for the simple reason that their agitation is all about restoration of Amazonia. They just want self-rule, they want self-determination, a restoration of their own independence. And I think that is what Paul Biya can do at the very least, to allow these people to go separate ways. There's no need really to continually force these people to live together with him when he cannot do the simplest of things to guarantee the safety and lives of these innocent civilians. Because again, you know, what we are castigating here is not only people who outstay in power. Because again, there are examples of other presidents, like in the neighboring country, in Uganda, where you have President Yoweri Museveni, who has been in power for the last, I think, since 1985, up to date. And no one is coming out really to castigate President Museveni. Why? Because first and foremost is ensured and guaranteed the people of Uganda the safety and their security. I mean, it's protecting the lives of the people of Uganda. No one in his right mind can really just come up and start castigating President Yoweri Museveni simply because it's been in power relatively beyond what other people would have expected. And so what is happening with President Paul Biya is he has outstayed in power for the last about, I think, 36 years. What he's doing today is only but committing genocide and atrocities against the innocent civilians of Ambazonia. And the world has been just looking. But I want to say that at least with what PUNCHLINE Africa TV has done, and with your own initiative, Dr. Masanga, at least we are seeing some gradual kind of progress, some kind of interventions are beginning to be initiated as regards to the crisis in southern Cameroon. When you see U.S. actually trying to sanction or even ask the United Nations Security Council to see into it what they can do as far as the genocide in Cameroon is concerned. When you see African Union actually trying to talk about it, at least they are making some progress, they are making some steps. Only that it's a little bit too late, because again, you have lost lives. Although we cannot relent and say, because you have lost life, people have been displaced, then we can sit quiet, we can sit pretty and say, enough of it. Let's sit down and find a solution to this problem. And I think the solution is only one, to actually allow these people to go separate ways so that we can have independence in Amazonia. These people can have their own self-determination. I think it's as simple as that. They're not asking too much. They have been mistreated for far too long. They have been denied the basic of things that any humanity will actually desire on earth. I mean, internet is not there. They cannot access health facilities. Their children are not going to school. They are scared of their own lives and safety. President Paul Biya has not actually guaranteed the basic of needs that the people of Amazonia or the people of Cameroon need. So the simplest that he can really give these people, the best that he can do, is just allow them to go separate ways, and so that they can have their own independence, they can determine how they want to be governed.
First of all, African Union, I want to ask Rose, African Union as a body that should have spearheaded the seeing to make sure that there are no human rights abuses. African Union seem to have been compromised because the president of African, the chairperson of African Union, Mahamati, comes from Chad. And Chad is also fighting several other insurgencies. There is also a group in Chad that wants to get away from the Chad, the Black Chad and the Arab Chad. So we have two groups there. So it looks like African Union is sucked into a scenario where they don't want to leave, to help the Cameroonians. When you look at Nigeria also, is sucked in the Biafran conflict. And the Nigerian president, who is a powerhouse around that region, is equally sucked into the Cameroonian conflict. That he picks Cameroonian leaders who are seeking asylum in Nigeria, returning them to Yaoundé for this man to slaughter them. So this type of thing, what can we learn from this lesson?
What we are learning, and I'll go back a bit and look at the role of African Union. It's supposed to ensure that the kind of troubles we have in Africa and ensure that we are able as African people to move forward as a continent. But again, when you look at the kind of leadership we have, and even the kind of mandate and the reasons why it was formed, it is not able to accomplish that. It shows clearly that for sure they have been compromised. When you look at the head of AU, who comes from Chad, they say charity begins at home. If at all you cannot clean your own house, how can you go and reach out to the next home and clean it? So it shows a lot of incompetency when it comes to the kind of leaders we have. It shows a lot of lack of Pan-Africanism, whereby they do not have the Africa interest at heart. And that's why we can have such cases in Ambazonia, where people are being killed every other day. You know, sometimes you ask questions like, when they meet, what do they talk about? If they cannot bring the issues of Ambazonia on table, talk about it and get solutions. If they cannot bring the issues of Biafrans on table, talk about it and bring solutions. Yet we have a whole African Union, which is supposed to ensure that Africa is stable, Africa is secure. Then when you look at the UN Security Council, and this is a big challenge, you look at the member representative, the countries which are represented there, they do not have...
Nobody talks about
Nobody talks about Cameroon.
Yes.
Nobody talks
we
about...
seem to go on things as usual.
Africa,
as
yes.
if Cameroon is all right.
Exactly.
Yes.
And with time, I think it's a high time our African leaders push for representation from African countries so that they are able to deal with African issues like insecurity and the kind of atrocities that are being committed to the Ambazonia people.
Thank you very much, Tawish. Let's pick it from here. $15 million. $15 million for humanitarian crisis. Does UN come in too late? Does too little? Has it listened now? For us, to us on this station, we welcome that.
Yeah.
Because once now there is a division in Cameroon,
Yeah.
where BIYA knows it doesn't have power in the other territory. That's the beginning of implementation. If you have studied strategy now in the political science, like I have, the UN is playing a strategy of saying we want to implement the resolution 1608.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Precisely, Dr. Masanga, and I think that is where I was getting in. But just before I respond even to what you exactly want me to respond to, Dr. Masanga, I was just, as we are talking, you and Rose, I was just looking into the role of the Peace and Security Council in the African Union. And I look into every aspect. They have about 11-point agenda with which these people are put into office, the Peace and Security Council of the African Union. One is to anticipate and prevent disputes and conflict, as well as policies which may lead to genocide and crimes against humanity. Second is undertake peacemaking, peace building, and peace support missions. Recommend interventions in a member state in respect of grave circumstances, namely war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity.
Yes.
Another one, institute sanctions. That means then the Peace and Security Council as well has the mandate to institute sanctions against a member state
And
that is actually and reprimand.
Reprimand Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another one is implement the AU's common defense policy. Another one is ensure implementation of key convention and instruments to combat international terrorism. Promote coordination between regional mechanisms and the AU regarding peace, security, and stability in Africa. Follow up promotion of democratic practices, good governance, the rule of law, protection of human rights, and fundamental freedoms, respect for the sanctity of human life and international humanitarian law. There are so many up to number 11, but I think I've just read to number 9. So the question I'm asking myself, and Dr. Masanga, you posted this and said, is it perhaps that maybe the African Union has been compromised enough with Mahamat Faki, who is in place now from Chad? That answer is, I think we have the answer, because again, what reason, what justification can the African Union or even the Peace and Security Council actually give on the people of Cameroon or even the rest of the African continent as to why up to this particular moment they have not actually intervened into the situation that is the conflict that is happening in Ambazonia? Everybody is asking in the continent. We do not want to see another Rwanda in southern Cameroon. We do not want to see that happen again, because that is where we are headed to if we cannot find a solution, at least for now. You see what is happening in South Sudan. How many years down the line did we really have to sit down and watch people being killed before we can intervene? What is it that we want? We wait to see that before we can intervene and get a solution to this crisis. So it is generally about the aspect of being compromised, and I think, like you normally put it, Dr. Masanga, it's more of the French puppets, the masters who are controlling these people. And so that is why you see they cannot take any intervention or any initiative to see that peace and stability is restored in southern Cameroon.
Thank you very much, Tawish. And I want now to take this opportunity on behalf of Punchline and separately on behalf of Pan-African Forum to read this statement. United Nations Security Council and the UNAU must condemn the President Paul Biya and stop genocide in Western Cameroon, which is Ambazonia. Pan-African Forum welcomes the decision by the United Nations, which has finally declared a humanitarian crisis in the Anglophone region of Cameroon and seeking $15 million of aid to deliver life-saving assistance and prevent further hardship for the affected population. 2, Pan-African Forum notes that coincidentally, this is coming just a few days after the United States decided it will be bypassing the United Nations in the delivery of aid in certain parts conflict zones in Cameroon. 3, Pan-African Forum has been at the forefront calling for the UN to return to the resolution 1608 of the General Assembly of 1961, which gave the people of Amazonia self-independence. 4, we note that an interesting development is in the UN's acknowledgement of the need to equally request and the protection assistance to be provided to the civilian population in the West Cameroon. What this means is that the Cameroonian government alone cannot be relied upon to provide the needed protection after the civilian affected population. 6, the Pan-African Forum with the UN knows that within the UN context, protection encompasses all activities aimed at ensuring all aspects respect for all human rights of individuals in accordance with the human rights law, international humanitarian law, which applies to the situations of armed conflict, and the refugee law, which is called UNOCHA, UNOCHA, which is the United Nations Commission for Human Rights and so on. This has been, Pan-African Forum knows this has far-winding, ranging implications and the changes that the conflict is perceived by international community. It means we have hammered our point home that this conflict is no longer a Cameroonian conflict. It is a conflict that must be looked at by international agencies. As stated in the UN documents, in situations of armed conflict, all parties in the conflict, i.e. states and organized armed groups, must respect and protect the civilians. Where national authorities or other parties to the conflict are unable or unwilling to meet this obligation, humanitarian organization may, with the parties' consent or without, provide assistance to the population. We will soon be starting to hear the phrases, and this is the phrases that I don't like to hear. We in the Pan-African Forum, we don't want to hear these phrases, like a call for ceasefire to enable delivery of humanitarian aid. This is not good news for the government of Mr. Biya. We want Mr. Biya's government to be condemned fully condemned for the atrocities that they have committed on the people of Ambazonia. Pan-African Forum Limited wants President Paul Biya to face more international condemnation, isolation, targeted sanctions, thus justifying the need of intervention to protect the civilian population that are being killed by Paul Biya. Pan-African Forum Limited knows that Paul Biya regime is guilty of targeted summary killings and are not trusted to protect the very population it is targeting and killing on daily basis. Lastly, Pan-African Forum calls on both the United States of America to put a no-fly zone. I am calling for a no-fly zone. That means no soldiers of Cameroon to enter Ambazonia, a no-fly zone, and create a protected area for the people of Ambazonia who are being killed, raped, maimed, tortured, murdered, and cleansed by the careless, clueless regime of Paul Biya. Signed, Dr. David Nyekorati Masanga, dated 31st May, the year of my Lord, 2018, in London and Nairobi. Thank you very much. That is the statement from us, from my Pan-African Forum. You can see the job it does on this continent. We only don't do Zimbabwe. We only don't do Kenya. We have stood by countries. We now tackle Biafran issue, which is coming to split Africa. We tackle South Sudan. Therefore, my panel, here we are. We want to go and drink water. But before I do that, Tawish, you picked a few points from this statement that I have issued, which you can get. I think you have it on. If you are a follower of my website, of my Facebook, that is my page that I always write on. Sure. Punchline Africa TV. So that statement is there. I will send it to you so that you can have it. It is a very good statement that in the future you can utilize. Yeah. Any questions, anything that you have picked from these statements that I've read just now, because the situation is the same. The situation is going to be UN will be there. We want UN to protect the people. Yeah. We want United Nations Security Council, America, to declare a no-fly zone so that any troops of Mr. Biya found in that territory, they are against the norm of the United Nations Security Council. That is what I'm fighting for. If the people of Cameroon are not looking at that, that is what, for me, what should be. All lobby groups from Alpha, from the doctor, the person we have interviewed, the doctor president in there, Dr. Kwasi, Dr. Dr. Kome, yeah. The one in the United States, the interim government, the people in exile.
Dr. Ikome Sako, yeah.
Ikome Sako. Yeah. Please organize for a no-fly zone. Advocate for a no-fly zone. That is where we shall defeat Biya. We want Biya to come to international scrutiny to tell us how many people he has killed before he gives them that freedom. Tawish.
Yes. Well, Dr. Masanga, I've listened to the statement that you have put forth, and I think it's a very good statement. It's touching on the crisis that is happening in Ambazonia and the appeal, the petition. It is more of a petition to the international agencies to try and respond to the crisis that is happening in Ambazonia. We do not want to sit and watch this genocide continue, because first thing first, even if people are held hostage, the first thing is to ensure that lives are protected. Lives have been rescued. I mean, that is the first agenda we have at the moment. We cannot continue to say, let's pursue peace. Let the people of Ambazonia have dialogue or negotiations with President Paul Biya, while in the first place, the people who are supposed to conduct any meaningful dialogue with the President Paul Biya and his regime actually held in custody. How do you expect the people of Ambazonia to have any negotiations, to have any dialogue, when you have held these people in detention, incommunicado for that case, Dr. Masanga. So I think it's a very good statement, and the world should actually take advantage of this statement to try and respond to the issues that the crisis that is happening in Amazonia. We do not want to regret.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Finally, Rose, some statement you have had, and I would like our production team to put that statement. Stephen, I've sent it to you. Put it
until people suffer. That is when you come in to try and provide aid. Really, that is a lot of pretense, and it's a high time. Move in and stop the war. Move in and ensure people don't die, because for sure, life is so sacred.
Yes, we cannot keep quiet. Those Cameroonian intelligence, small-brained intelligence officials who threaten people around, who threaten Cameroonians. You can't threaten Pan-African spirit. We are going to deal with you. You need a no-fly zone, and that is what we are calling for. A no-fly zone will allow humanitarian delivery to the people who have been displaced. A no-fly zone will give sanctions, will put BIYA under sanctions, will force BIYA to surrender the freedom of the people of Ambazonia. The resolution 1608 must be implemented now. There is no need of waiting. There is no need of keeping quiet when BIYA is eating with the French frogs and allowing Africans to die in Cameroon. No, no, no. Africa must rise and refuse this French hegemony of colonizing our minds, of allowing our brothers to be killed while we keep quiet and we continue to say we have in African Union. And the last word is Tawish.
Well, Dr. Masanga, I'm just getting disappointed by there's one viewer here who has, insisted on just one point. He's talking about us not having gone to Cameroon, us
we have been to
not
Cameroon.
Understanding the history of
he
Cameroon.
Doesn't understand
he's telling
that
us
viewer should be a small intelligence officer paid per diem. We don't live on per diem. We live on facts.
Yeah.
Tell him off.
Yeah, so I think what is important is, if you have any contrary view or opinion about exactly what, or facts for that matter, if you think maybe what we are doing as Punchline Africa TV is just but hearsay, then you have to table the facts you have. Are people not being killed in southern Cameroon? Are people not being displaced?
Out of 100%, only one single soul of Cameroon intelligence saying we knew Cameroon before you were even born. I was in Yaoundé. I know all the streets of Yaoundé. Do you know them? You don't even know. You only kill people. You kill people because you have been given money by BIYA and his mercenaries from France to murder people. But you will not threaten us. Is Mr. Popo? That's
Paul Jipper.
Yeah, Paul, somebody. In fact, the name is even more French. Go and eat frogs. Don't come on the television where we don't want frogs eaten here. We eat meat.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a package. You try me, I have a package. Any Zimbabwean, like a mother, try me, I have a package for you. Yes, thank you very much. This guy here of African Union is zero. He's doing nothing. He was paid by the French, installed by French in the AU to dismember Africa. He's not talking about Cameroon. That's why they refuse to take Amina Mohammed. Amina Mohammed being a person from Kenya with democratic principles of Kenya, she would have talked about Cameroon. Now let's see Africa. You see foreign ministers who picked French money. Can you see what you have done to African Union? Those who are bribed. Amai Zuma, you were bribed to bring this man. I now tell you, that's why you failed to become the president of South Africa. Yeah, a curse. What? You were bribed. Wagwan. You were bribed, Mama Zuma. You brought a French puppet in the African Union. People are dying and he's still smiling on the screen. Voila. Thank you very much, viewers. Our television is radical. But we still the names. We are talking Africa. Everywhere we can be in the Indian Ocean of Mauritius, we shall talk Africa. It doesn't stop us. Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you very much, all of you from Cameroon. Thank you very much. Can Stephen, the article is on your WhatsApp. Can you bring it up before we wind up? As Tawish looks for another word to punch Mr. Beer. Any other word to punch Mr. Beer? Let me come to you. Don't you have, as a mother, mothers are being raped? What do we do?
It is such a painful experience, and I don't think this should be continuing. We need to own our own African narrative, because this is not African. Killing people, not really valuing life, it's not African. It's not part of our African values and cultures. And when we go to the contrary, I don't think it's a sustainable thing. Such leaders should not even be in power. I really feel bad when such things are happening in Ambazonia, and we should never and not even lose this fight until we are able to succeed.
Paulo Jipa is a disease in Yaoundé. It's a killer disease. So, Paulo Jipa, take him off and block him never to see this TV. We don't want you. Yes, we don't want you anymore. Your eyes can close near. But we are coming with no fly zone. No fly zone. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, United States, for declaring that area. Thank you, Washington Post. Haven't you seen the lobby, Mr. Paulo Jipa, the disease of your wound? Yes, another word, Mr. Before I close down. Bring that. I'm waiting for that thing to come on, then close. We leave this message of Pan-African Forum to the people of Ambazonia.
Well, there's only one thing that I've acknowledged out of all this, that this is just intended to distract the attention of the program, to distract us from discussing that which is important, to continue with the struggle and the pursuit to ensure that Ambazonia is liberated. I think it is something that is deliberate, and you can clearly see even from some of the viewers and the comments they're making that this is purely intended to distract us so that we can concentrate more on an individual or a pseudo account other than what we intended for this program. And I think we just need to ignore this person. Is a nobody, a non-issue for us. But moving forward, Dr. Masanga, I think we have talked much. We'll continue with this struggle. We'll continue to push for President Paul Biya and his handlers and his regime to see into it that eventually the people of Southern Cameroon can get their independence. Nothing is going to distract us. Nothing is going to distract Punchline Africa TV, and on our own individual capacity in this pursuit. We will continue to press for that until and when the people of Southern Cameroon can gain or restore their independence in the name of Ambazonia. Nothing short of it, because that is what they are calling for. I mean, if Paul Biya feels like this is too much for the people of Ambazonia, then he should give us a concrete explanation as to why these people should continue being together as the Republic of Le Cameroon. You get the point? Yeah. Because again, as it is so far, this man, I don't want to refer to him as a gentleman because there's nothing gentle that is coming from him. If you're killing and maiming and carrying out genocide on innocent civilian, more so the young people, the children, the mothers and the old, it is unfortunate. There's no better word that befits you other than just a killer. I mean, that is what Paul Biya is for, and that is how we can best describe him. But we'll continue with this struggle, and we want to remind the people of Southern Cameroon that it's not going to be easy. It has never been easy, even if you are to go to history. This struggle normally comes with bloodshed, it comes with loss of life, it comes with displacement, it comes with loss of dignity, and so many other things. But the fruits by the end of the day are sweet, and so they should remain focused on the goal.
Thank you very much, Tawish. Thank you very much, Linda. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I just don't know why that Ambazonian woman comes in my mouth all the time. What? Get out of the mouth. Rose Gichero.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. Thank you, Tawish. Thank you, the people of Cameroon. I was waiting for that letter, but you can get that letter on my Facebook page of Africa Punchline. It will be on the website of Pan-African Forum. It's www.panafricanforumltd.com. Read that letter that we have acknowledged the statement that has brought in United Nations Security Council and the Humanitarian officers coming down, they should not be mixed with the Cameroon army. Yes. Thank you. The rest of you have a nice Madaraka Day. Tomorrow is Madaraka Day. Are you working, Mr. Tawish? No. I want you to go to Mary and relax. I want you to go and relax. So let me just wish everybody a good Madaraka Day. Very good news in Kenya. The Kenyans have united at last. My policy of teaching redemption. Hallelujah. 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 God, thank you very much. Me, I can go and wash myself in the River Nile now because I've finished my job. Yes, the Kenyans have shaken their hands at last. Yes, that's what I said. Hatred was here. Hatred. Hatred. From 1992, hatred. Yes. 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 That's it. Thank you very much, Dr. Raila Morodinga, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Stephen Kalonzo, William Ruto, Mudavadi, come, join hands, build your country. There is no conflict that has ever defeated Dr. Matsanga. Whenever I put my feet, I win. Wow. Wagwan, haven't we won this one?
We've won.
Haven't we? Shake my hand. This one of Ambazonia, I'm going to win.
Yeah, we will win.
I'm telling you, Ambazonia, by the end of this year, there will be some change, Mr. Beer. We meet in Paris. When you have no food, you are looking for it. There will be a regime change there. Once a humanitarian corridor comes, we are home.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, the cameraman. Thank you very much, the studio production. Thank you very much, the teams outside in Southern Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the team in London. All of you who watched us since morning, thank you very much. I talk like this because I was a protectorate. I was not a colonized man. My mind was never colonized. It was given the chance to learn the type of English and accent, but not taught to pronounce the word po. Thank you. This Thank you very much. Thank you. This station, therefore, is for Africa, with Africa by Africa. Charles.